Let's go to, let's try Caitlin in Fresno, California. What's up, Caitlin?
Hey, Dr. John. I need help kind of processing through the recent school shooting in Texas.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of do too. Can we do that together?
Yeah, absolutely. So
Cool.
I want to give you a little background before we go into it because it'll help you understand where I'm coming from. I'm a current teacher in an elementary school, and before I was a teacher, I was in emergency services for about 9 years,
Ooh.
and I'm currently trying to leave and go back into emergency services more on the law enforcement side. So I have a lot rattling around in my brain regarding both sides of that shooting.
Yeah, man. So you told me about the professional stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You've been a teacher in a classroom.
Mm-hmm.
And you've played that scenario out in your head, right?
Yes. Almost every week.
Yes. You've also been EMS, and you've shown up, not to a scene that bad, but you've shown up to some stuff, right?
Right.
So when they say bodies or children, you have a different visceral feeling than most. Because most of us,
it's in my gut. Yeah.
That's right. Because you've shown up on a scene when a child isn't made it, right?
Yes.
And you've watched people that it's a different kind of cry. Nothing comes out. It's almost like a throw up cry at the same time. You've seen parents do that, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So what makes you, I tell you that to tell you, I want you to honor your body in this because you've seen this stuff. This is a part of you. This is different. This is not an academic exercise or just some stuff you saw or learned. This is for real. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. Why do you want to go be a cop?
I feel like I really miss parts of the tangible elements that I had in EMS. And I know in the school system, we are helping all these kids, but I miss the tangibility and the problem-solving components of that world and of my skill set.
So one, I don't know I don't know how you came into the world, but I wish more people had a spirit of service. Like you just are put on earth to serve, right?
I believe so, yes.
So great, man. So great. You're amazing. All right, so this is going to sound awful, but I process what happened in Uvalde differently with different groups. With my law enforcement friends, it's guttural because they see what appears to be catastrophic screw-ups, right?
Mm-hmm.
You see that too?
Yes.
So these are my buddies who are in badge, and they go, "What are you doing?" And they feel the heat of everybody in the world blaming police for everything. And here they are getting back in the car and going back on patrol again today, right?
Yes.
And they also know that you can train all day, 7 days to Sunday when you are in a building where bullets are flying and there are children, that everything is different than you think it's going to be. I've been in a building full of students during an active shooter. I've been there. It's different than we trained. It's the same, but it's different in your body. You know what I'm saying? You've been there.
Mm-hmm.
So I also am a parent of a 6-year-old. And so I grieve that with parents differently. I'm also a Texan who has guns. And I, like, what is happening? And I also have common sense, and I'm not a moron, right? So it's one of those across the board like I'm grieving this in 50 different ways, and I'm trying to solve it tomorrow for my community in 50 different ways, right? So I tell you all those things to say you have permission on this show to grieve it across the board, but I want you to speak into it. Like, how can I help you with which particular thing you're struggling with?
I think because of both sides of that, I kind of feel like I know too much, and in the sense of like a lot of teachers can kind of go around and say they don't know what they don't know in regards to safety and tactical kind of things. And I almost know just enough to know too much to know that we are, I mean, for lack of better terms, kind of sitting ducks in these classrooms in a lot of ways. And so I'm having a hard time kind of processing that, and almost to a point where I'm finding myself having a hard time respecting my colleagues and that lack of that chain of command. And I don't know if they would know what to do. Like,
let me tell you, no.
Exactly. That's not their job. But
No, right.
I'm
Exactly.
having a hard time with that part of it.
So 2 things you can do with that. Number 1 is you can feel that. Okay, your feelings are right.
Yeah.
Like you are trained as an EMS person or as a law enforcement person to walk into a room or a situation and say, "This is not safe. This is not safe. This scene is not secure." Right? That's how you're trained to walk into a room and scan the room. You're trained as a teacher that when people lack insight or knowledge into a certain thing, that your job as a teacher is to help bridge that gap.
Yes.
And so feeling that and understanding is, this is why things like 9/11, this is why things like COVID, this is why things like these shootings are so unmooring, is that we live with a certain level of, it's all going to be all right. And when you spend time with military folks, you spend time with first responders, they go, yeah, but it might not be, because they've seen it, right? And that was the joke with my old man. He was a homicide detective. It was always 100% of his day was dealing with things that never happen. Nobody gets hacked up with a hatchet, but on Tuesday they did, and that's where he spent most of his day, right? And nobody ever gets in a 17-car pileup except on Wednesday, and that's where he spent all of his day, right? So as a police officer, you are trained to walk into situations that no one ever sees, and you're trained to walk in and try to make sense of it. And as a teacher, you teach people. And so a way you can make, here's the words, how am I going to make meaning of these feelings? Okay?
Okay.
I'm going to offer a class. Any teacher who wants in on it, I'm going to teach you. Here's the right way to do that. Hey, principal, I'm willing to, I've got a background in this. I'm willing to teach the folks here about this. I'm willing to hold a small group. I'll get coffee and donuts, and have all the teachers who want to show up and just to debrief. Like a CIS, like a critical incident stress management, like a debrief. How are y'all's teachers? Everybody okay? This was what happened, just scary. And we all realize we're pretty freaking vulnerable in here. You see what I'm saying? Like, how am I going to make, what am I going to do? How am I going to make meaning of this? And then be very graceful with the teachers, the people who cannot wrap their head around it. Right? It's one of the arguments that I hear, like, we just need to arm all the teachers.
No. No.
A, you work with teachers? No, you don't, right?
No.
But B, you can't
even pull the phone to take a picture of a celebrity. You think you're going to be able to do that in a classroom?
There you go, right? And so that's a political thing, right? But the idea is, some people cannot put their head there. They can't go there. I'm going to be graceful with them, right? I'm not going to beat them up for it. I'm not going to, you don't know what's coming. That's not helpful. That's just going to shut them down further, right?
Yeah.
Ultimately, the question is, do you want to stay a teacher or you want to go to law enforcement? And what role of service do you want to be a part of? And here's what I'll tell you. There are, and you know this, idiot teachers. I've worked with them. I was one, actually. There are teachers who aren't great, and there are teachers who are incredible. There are going to be police officers who are remarkable, and they spend every minute of their life wanting to help and love and serve their communities. And there's going to be idiots who screw it up. And the goal as a police is get those folks out and to continue to support and honor and love those who are really trying to do the best they can with what they got. Does that make sense? So all I have to say is, because you're a servant, there's not going to be an arena you go into where it's going to be perfect and that it's going to be free from tons of outside armchair quarterbacks. And it's for you, you got to always remember why you're doing this in the first place.
Yeah, I kind of have to ground myself in that so that it doesn't get lost.
Yeah. Hey, if nothing else, just remember, I know enough to know that in the middle of the night, if something goes down, I'm going to call 911.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And you will be the person who shows up for me and my little kids and my wife and my dogs and my chickens. Except you can let the chickens go. They're fine. They drive me crazy. Right? You hear what I'm saying? Like, remember me. Yeah. Remember my family. Remember my little kids. When the news is crazy or when you see some police officer do some stupid, racist, idiot thing, that's not everybody. It's not most everybody. And let's remember the family on the other end of that phone. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
I don't know if that's helpful or not. I feel like I've just been talking a lot. I feel like, hey, let's process this together. And I'm going to talk for 10 minutes without breathing, right? Okay, I just threw a lot at you. How are you?
I'm good. I think I like the idea of the class, and I think I need to kind of figure out a way to also bridge it up to like the district office level too, in terms of like physical things that we can do around the school.
So a great thing you can do is to pilot it. Pilot's the word, like pilot it, practice it,
Okay.
give it a shot.
Okay.
And if it goes well with 5 or 6 teachers in your little grade unit, then maybe the principal lets you do it at your campus. And then if that goes well, then you and your principal approach the region or the school district. And you see what I'm saying?
Okay.
So don't be like, I've got a program. Man, they're getting bombarded with those kind of things. But start with the human part. Hey, I know 5 teachers around me. They're kind of freaked out. We're gonna get coffee in the evening. We're gonna go to Sonic, get some drink, and we're just gonna sit in a circle and say, "How are you? And how are you? And how are you?" Because a lot of teachers are replaying this stuff in their head, and they're terrified because they got nobody to talk to about it.
Yeah.
And you could be
I think teachers think one way, and I think I just see it differently, but I also have that humanity and compassion side of the teacher, and so
that's right.
Okay.
The world is better because you're in it, Caitlin. I'm really grateful for you.
Thank you, Dr. John.
So 2 things, remember, your feelings are real and you get to have them. And then the question we always want to get to is, how am I going to make meaning of this? What do I do next? Right?
Okay.
And man, as being able to be a teacher and law enforcement and such important shout outs to our law enforcement folks, such important shout outs to our teachers. And everybody grieving from all over this mess. And to my brothers and sisters who are police officers with kids who go to school, the ones I've talked to, this has been a mess, man. It's weeping and sadness. And I can't believe that they just sat in the hallway for all those things and the tactical questions and the kid questions and the follow-up questions, all of it, man. As a country, we got to grieve. And we got a bunch of follow-up. Just a mess, man. What a mess. Be like Caitlin. Find places in your community where you can serve. Not where you can throw fits and throw water balloons and throw rocks and throw bricks and scream. Where you can actually sit down with people and serve.